The truth unveiled when I opened my eyes again. The sharp, sterile scent of antiseptic still lingered at the tip of my nose. But I wasn't in a hospital bed. I was sitting in the spacious, sun-drenched executive lounge of my family's real estate firm. Across from me sat Chloe Vance. She was 20, wearing a sun-faded sundress that had clearly seen better days. She sat perfectly upright, her chin tilted at just the right angle to convey a sense of chilly, high-minded disdain. It was a look I knew all too well, the Ice Queen persona I had once found so captivating. "Liam," she said, her voice quiet but laced with a practiced sense of detachment. "I appreciate the offer, but I can't accept it. I want to earn my degree through my own hard work. In my previous life, I had been completely fooled by this pure and uncorrupted act. I truly believe she was the girl who, on a dark, torrential night, had dragged me out of the freezing river and used a cheap, cartoon duck Band-Aid to patch up my wounds before vanishing into the rain without a word. To repay that life-saving debt, I had made her the center of my universe. I paid her Ivy League tuition, founded a talent agency specifically for her, and poured millions into marketing and high-end roles to turn her from a struggling student into America's sweetheart. And her? She had maintained that cold, aloof distance the entire time. Acting as if accepting my help was a charity, she was performing for a shallow, rich guy like me. She spent my money while sneaking around with her high school sweetheart, Tyler Kent, claiming theirs was a pure love, untainted by greed. That was until my company hit a temporary liquidity crisis. Seeing I could no longer satisfy her appetite, she and Tyler conspired to push me into the very same river where I had nearly drowned years before. As the icy water pulled me under, I heard Chloe whisper to Tyler, "Now it's over. No one will ever know I stole that girl's credit. He owed me, and he'll never be able to pay it back now." It was all a lie, every single bit of it. Now, having returned to the moment it all began, I watched Chloe. She was waiting. She expected me to do what I did last time, lower my voice, plead with her, and beg her to take the money. It was a game that fed her ego while filling her bank account. I looked at her, my heart as cold as the river that had claimed me. "If that's how you feel," I said, standing up and adjusting the cufflinks of my tailored suit, "I won't force you." I turned toward the door. Chloe froze. The script in her head had suddenly gone off the rails. She had a whole speech prepared about how integrity can't be bought and how we come from different worlds, but the words died in her throat. Liam, wait," she blurted out, a hint of panic slipping through her composed exterior. I stopped but didn't look back. "Is there something else?" I just feel like..." She scrambled to find her footing. "I shouldn't just take help for no reason." "You're right," I replied calmly. "You shouldn't. Let's leave it at that." I pulled open the heavy oak door and walked out. The click of the latch behind me cut off her bewildered expression. She probably thought I was playing some high-stakes game of hard to get. She had no idea that the debt she had fraudulently claimed had just reached its expiration date. The real savior stepping out of the Sterling Plaza. The afternoon sun felt blindingly bright. I stood on the sidewalk, my mind racing through the fragmented memories of my past life. If Chloe wasn't the one who saved me, who was? On that rainy night years ago, I had been a reckless, heartbroken teenager who had just had a blow-up fight with my father. I'd wandered down to the Chicago River and lost my footing. I remember the taste of rust and weeds in the water. I remember the cold. A girl had dragged me out. She was thin but incredibly strong. Her hands were rough, not the hands of a girl who spent her days in climate-controlled classrooms. She performed CPR with a desperate, clumsy intensity. When I finally sputtered back to consciousness, I saw her press a Band-Aid onto the gash on my hand. It had a stupid, smiling yellow duck on it. She checked my pulse one last time and vanished into the fog before I could see her face. The next day, I had taken that Band-Aid to school. I'd asked everyone. Eventually, Chloe's roommate told me, "Oh, Chloe always carries those. She loves that brand." Chloe didn't say yes immediately. She just looked down shyly. And let me believe it. I pulled out my phone and called my assistant. "Leo, I need you to run a search. Look for female students at the university who were on financial aid last year and were also working part-time jobs at hospitals or clinics." "On it, Mr. Sterling." A few hours later, the email arrived. 3 names. The first was Chloe Vance. I ignored it. Her sick mother's story was a scam. She'd used my millions to pay off her father's gambling debts while her mother was treated for nothing more than mild arthritis. The second was a girl named Sarah Jenkins, who worked in the campus infirmary. The third was Maya Reed, an architecture major. The file noted that she worked long shifts as a nursing assistant at Chicago Central Hospital to pay for her younger brother's specialized treatments. Maya Reed. I vaguely remember the name. She was one of those invisible students, Always in the back of the lecture hall, always in a faded hoodie, always with the highest GPA in the department. We had never spoken. I looked at her ID photo. She wore her hair in a simple ponytail, no makeup, with eyes that looked tired but incredibly focused. My gut told me it was her. That faint scent of hospital soap I remembered from the riverbank, that wouldn't have come from Chloe. Drive me to Chicago Central, I told my driver. The pediatric oncology ward was a bleak place. I found Maya in a cramped, four-person room. She was sitting by a bed, peeling an apple with a small paring knife. She was focused, the peels spiraling down in one continuous ribbon. Her hands were exactly as I remembered, slender, but with faint calluses on the palms. The boy in the bed looked frail, but he had Maya's sharp, intelligent eyes. Maya, you don't have to do that, the boy rasped. I can do it. You've got a 4 in your arm, Noah, Maya said without looking up. Just sit tight. When she finished, she sliced the apple into perfect wedges and handed one to him. As she stood to stretch her back, she caught sight of me standing in the doorway. She stiffened instantly, her gaze wary. I stepped into the room. I didn't go to her first. I looked at the chart at the foot of the bed. Noah Reed, 14. Aplastic anemia. A devastating, expensive diagnosis. Can I help you? Maya asked, stepping between me and the bed like a bird guarding its nest. Maya Reed? I'm Liam Sterling. I know who you are, she said, her voice guarded. Why are you here? I think I owe you a thank you. I held out my right hand, showing the faint, thin scar on my knuckles. Last summer, the river behind the stadium. Do you remember? Maya's pupils dilated. She glanced at the scar and then looked away, shaking her head. I don't know what you're talking about. You have the wrong person. Her denial was the final proof I needed. She wasn't looking for a payday. The rain was coming down in sheets. I whispered, stepping closer. You dragged me up the bank. Your sleeves were soaked through, and you used a yellow duck Band-Aid to stop the bleeding. Maya's face went pale. She looked at me, her defenses crumbling. I really don't remember. It could have been anyone. It was you. I pulled a small, clear plastic case from my pocket. Inside was the flattened, preserved yellow duck Band-Aid. I've been looking for you for a long time. I want to help. I don't want your money, she said stubbornly, her chin lifting in a way that was far more genuine than Chloe's practiced poise. It was just something anyone would do. I'm not a hero. To me you are, I said. I tried to hand her my card, but she wouldn't take it. Look, I know about Noah. I know how much the treatments cost. I'll figure it out, she insisted. I realized that for someone with her pride, a handout was an insult. I had to change tactics. Fine, let's make it a business arrangement, I said, gesturing to the coding manual on Noah's bedside table. My company is developing a new educational app. We need a user experience consultant from a younger demographic to test the beta. Noah looks like he knows his way around a computer. It's a paid position. Noah's eyes lit up. Maya, I could totally do that. I'm the best coder in my grade. I smiled. See? He's interested. It's simple work. He tests the product from his bed and writes reports. I'll prepay 3 months of the consulting fee. $50,000. Does that cover the next round of treatment? Maya looked at me, her eyes brimming with tears she refused to let fall. After a long silence, she finally nodded. Thank you. Liam. The role of a lifetime when I returned to the office. Leo told me Chloe had been waiting in the lounge all afternoon. I walked in, and she stood up immediately. The Ice Queen mask was gone, replaced by a look of indignant confusion. Liam, what the hell is going on? She demanded, dropping the Mr. Sterling act. Nothing is going on, I said, sitting on the sofa across from her. You said you didn't want my help. I respected your wish. But you said you were doing it to repay a debt. Chloe's voice rose. Is your gratitude that cheap? I say one thing, and you just snatch it all back. I laughed. It was a cold, dry sound. That's interesting logic. Let me ask you, if this is about a debt, do I owe you, or do you owe me? Chloe stammered. Obviously you owe me. Well, I've decided not to pay. Is that a problem? You're being a jerk. Maybe, but I'm a busy jerk. You can see yourself out. She stood there, biting her lip until it nearly bled, her eyes welled with tears. In my past life, this sight would have broken me. Now it just felt like a bad performance. Did someone say something to you? She asked, her voice turning soft and manipulative. Is someone whispering lies about me? No one had to, I said. I just realized we come from different worlds. Isn't that what you always say? I'm just agreeing with you. She stormed out, but I knew this wasn't the end. Chloe's ambition wouldn't let her walk away from a golden goose that easily. Sure enough, my phone buzzed. It was Tyler Kent, her boyfriend. In the previous timeline, he had lived off my dime, driving the Porsches I bought for Chloe, living in the penthouse I leased for her. Sterling, Tyler's voice was an arrogant snarl. Chloe just called me crying? What did you do to her? I did nothing. Listen, man. Chloe isn't some girl you can just mess with. If you hurt her again, you're going to have a problem. Tyler, I said, leaning back in my chair. I think you're confused. Since you're her loving boyfriend, I assume you'll be taking over her tuition and her mother's medical bills now? I'm out of the picture. It's all on you, buddy. Good luck. I hung up before he could respond. A few days later, I called director Marcus Thorne. He was the most prestigious indie director in the country, brilliant, cranky, and obsessed with authenticity. In my last life, I had used a massive donation to his foundation to force Chloe into the lead role of his film, The Kite. That movie had launched her career. Marcus, I said, about that girl I mentioned before, Chloe Vance? Forget her. Oh, why? Her headshots looked decent. Bad character, I said. For a man like Marcus, that was the ultimate deal breaker. But I have someone else. A girl named Maya Reed. She's never acted, but she is the character you're looking for. The lead in The Kite was a girl struggling in the shadows of the city, refusing to let go of her dreams despite the weight of the world. It was Maya's life. Marcus was skeptical, but he agreed to an audition. I drove Maya to the studio myself. She was wearing her old hoodie and worn-out jeans. When she saw the line of glamorous aspiring actresses outside Thorne's office, she tried to shrink away. Don't, I said, taking her hand. Her skin was warm, and she didn't pull away. You aren't here to play a part. You're just here to show him who you are. Inside, Marcus was exhausted. He just dismissed a girl who had cried on cue, but felt like a plastic doll. He looked at Maya, then at her clothes. Can you act? He asked bluntly. No, Maya said. Then why are you here? Maya looked at me, then back at Marcus. Her voice was quiet but steady. Because I need the money for my brother. And because I want to know what it feels like to be someone who isn't afraid for once. To fly like a kite. Marcus sat up. He gave her a prompt. You've just been paid your monthly wages. It's the money that keeps your brother alive. You're on the bus home. You reach into your pocket, and it's gone. Go. Maya didn't move for a long time. Then, she reached into her pocket. Her face didn't twist into a dramatic sob. Instead, her entire body seemed to deflate. She searched her pockets with a frantic, trembling speed that turned into a numb, hollow stillness. She didn't scream. She just sat down on the floor, her eyes going completely vacant, as if her soul had left her body to avoid the pain. The room was silent. Marcus Thorne stood up, his eyes wide. That's it, he whispered. You're the one. The House of Cards Falls Maya was a natural. Within weeks of filming, Marcus was calling her a once-in-a-generation talent. She was blossoming, gaining a confidence that made her glow. Meanwhile, Chloe and Tyler were spiraling. Without my funding, Tyler's credit cards were being declined, and Chloe was being forced to audition for low-budget commercials. One evening, they both cornered me in my office. Liam, please, Chloe sobbed, dropping the act entirely. I know I was prideful. I know I hurt you, but you can't give that role to a nobody like Maya Reed. It was supposed to be mine. It was never yours, Chloe, I said. You just stole the story that went with it. What is that supposed to mean? Tyler stepped forward, trying to look intimidating. It means I know, I said, pulling up a photo on my phone. It was a shot from Noah Reed's Instagram. A candid photo of Maya sitting in a hospital hallway. Attached to her bag was a faded, jingling keychain, a small, smiling yellow duck. A keychain? Chloe scoffed, though she turned pale. Everyone has those. Maybe, I said, but not everyone has this. I played a grainy video file, security footage I'd recovered from a nearby pier. It showed a girl in a university hoodie dragging a body out of the water. The girl's face was partially obscured, but her height, her gait, and her frantic movements were unmistakably Maya. You lied to me for 2 years, Chloe. You took the credit for saving my life while the girl who actually did it was working 3 jobs to keep her brother from dying. We're done. And if you ever show your faces here again, I'll release this video along with a detailed account of your charity fraud to every tabloid in the city. They fled, but I wasn't finished. I made sure Tyler's outstanding debts, which, through a series of shell companies, were now owned by my firm, were called in immediately. The scandal broke a week later. Not from me, but from a leak at the hospital where Chloe had claimed to volunteer. The narrative of the Ice Queen Muse was dismantled overnight. People found out about her father's gambling, her fake savior story, and her secret relationship with Tyler. She became a pariah in the industry before she even got her foot in the door. A new star, The Kite, premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival and became an instant sensation. Maya Reed was the talk of the town. She wasn't just a discovery. She was an icon of resilience. At the awards gala, Maya stood on stage in a stunning white gown that made her look like an angel. She held the Best Actress trophy, her eyes scanning the crowd until they found mine. "I want to thank one person," she said into the microphone. "Liam Sterling. He found me when I was lost in the dark. He gave me a chance to fly. But more importantly, he reminded me that the truth eventually finds its way to the light." The applause was deafening. That night, after the parties died down, we stood on the balcony of the hotel overlooking the city. "Is it everything you dreamed of?" I asked. "It's better," she whispered, "because it's real." She turned to me, her eyes bright. "Liam, I want to repay you. For everything." I smiled, remembering how Chloe had said those same words with such greed in her heart. But for Maya, they sounded like a promise. "How do you plan on doing that?" She leaned in, her breath warm against my ear. "By never letting you fall into that river again." I pulled her into a kiss, the taste of the future far sweeter than the bitterness of the past. The final twist a year later. Maya was sitting for a high-profile interview on a national talk show. The host was leaning in, eager for a scoop. "Maya, we have to talk about the scandal that started it all. The video of you saving Liam Sterling. It was the smoking gun that destroyed Chloe Vance's career. Do you ever feel bad for her?" Maya took a sip of water, a faint, enigmatic smile playing on her lips. "I don't think about her at all. But that video, it was so perfect. Almost too perfect." Maya looked directly into the camera. "That's because it was. The video was a composite. We didn't have footage from that night. I asked Liam to have his tech team create it based on my descriptions." The studio went silent. I sat in the front row, my heart skipping a beat. "I did save him," Maya continued, her voice cool and steady. "But I knew a girl like Chloe would never be defeated by the truth alone. She needed a show. She needed evidence. So I gave it to her. I wasn't some helpless victim waiting to be rescued by a prince. I wanted my life back, and I took it." The audience erupted. They didn't hate her for the deception. They loved her for the brilliance of it. I walked backstage after the show. Maya was waiting for me, her eyes sparkling with that same Duck Band-Aid spirit. "You're a dangerous woman, Maya Reed," I said, pulling her close. "And you're the only one who knows it," she laughed. I realized then that in my first life, I had died for a lie. In this life, I was living for a woman who was far more complex, far more powerful, and far more beautiful than any pure heroine could ever be. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Story complete.